Okay, so we're doing back for episode 10. We're going to do part 2 of the new year goals went along. So we're going to break that up so we can talk over the New Year's and our goals and what we're looking forward to in the podcast and personal and all the things. So, so what are your dreams or goals or things you're looking forward to for this new year?
Do we want to do like highs and lows of last year?
Oh yeah, we can do
first?
highs and lows. Yeah.
Because in my mind, it's tracking like, let's wrap up last year and then move into the new year.
You got it.
So my high and low is kind of the same thing. I've been thinking about it a lot. It's kind of interesting.
Okay.
So let's see. Heston has an interesting relationship with his family.
Mm-hmm.
The dynamic is, I wouldn't say healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we, in the last 3 years, as a couple, have decided that we need to step away from certain members of Heston's family.
Mm-hmm.
It was so hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
Hurtful. Like, we were arguing a lot. There was just a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of raw emotion around kind of taking a step back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the individuals that we've had to step away from are mainly because of how they were treating me.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like trickled into Heston and him realizing like, you know, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And everyone has made excuses for this person for what? I mean, my entire marriage being in this family, like excuse after excuse. And what's funny is a few weeks ago, I was on Heston's iPad and Liv and I were like looking at pictures. And Heston had screenshot all these conversations or these texts that I had sent him about like something that I was doing nice for this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had done is I was in Mesa and I'm like, hey, I'm going to Trader Joe's. Like, do you want me to pick anything up? And this person was like, yeah, and sent me this list of food. Okay. So I pick it up and I am at this person's house. I was sitting outside apparently for 45 minutes trying to like drop off this food. And I think it was hot outside, so I can't just leave the food out.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I'm like texting Heston, like, I've texted them, I'm calling them, I know they're home. Like, they're just flat out ignoring me. So finally, I end up texting someone else in the family, and then this person is like, yeah, just leave it at the door. But, like, they knew I was outside. They knew I had all of this stuff for them, right?
Yeah.
And they're leaving me completely hanging. And I have, like, a baby at this point, you know? And I didn't live in Queen Creek. I don't know what I was doing. I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
So I'm reading these texts and I'm just laughing. And I'm like, man, we totally made the right decision because this kind of stuff had been happening for 9 years.
Yeah.
At this point of like, why am I being treated like this? I don't understand. And then I'm talking to other people in the family and they're like, oh, that's just how they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not participating in this. And it didn't, like, it kind of slowly was happening over time. We were pulling away. And then we finally just made the decision, like, we're not coming to things anymore. We're not doing, like, family parties. Just basically anything that these people are going to be at. We can't be there. It doesn't work. And so that was, like, has been a low for our family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the growth that Heston has experienced, I think because we've stepped away from that, and he's the youngest of 6, so I feel like he's really put into like a box as being like the baby. Like anytime he makes a suggestion, everyone in his family thinks that he's so dumb, which is so weird. Yeah, because in our family, like, if we can't figure something out, we go to Heston, and he figures it out. Yeah. Like, he's got the solution. He's so smart. Mm-hmm. But in his family, like, they like go out of their way to put him down.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this going like, that's my husband. I get that he was your brother first, but that's my husband.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at him and I think he's incredible and he can figure anything out.
Yeah.
So it was it was really hard to like pull away. Mm-hmm. And especially because when Heston and I were dating, could not wait to be a part of this family.
Yeah.
That was like a really big draw to dating Heston, was to like his family. They all seemed to get along really well. There's like a ton of cousins, all of these like super positive things. And I remember saying to my mom, we're totally going to live in Queen Creek because all of the cousins all went to the same school that was across the street from Heston's parents' house. They all walked to her house after school, and then they all had like snacks together, and then all the moms came and picked them up. So I'm like having this vision of like my son. So because we had Heston so fast after we got married. Yeah. And to be honest, one of the main reasons why was because 3 of my sister-in-laws were already pregnant. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is probably the last baby for all 3 of these girls. Oh, like I want Heston, I want my son or my whichever kid is coming first to have like a group of cousins. Yeah. You know? So to be honest, like that was a huge thought in my mind of going, I want to have a baby around the same time as all of my sister-in-laws so that Heston can have cousins and he can go to the school with them and they can all walk home together. And I just had this like super cool vision that I was sold on with his family. It was not like that. Yeah. Like very quickly after we got married, things really started to take a turn for whatever reason. The dynamic in his family shifted so intensely that I was like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And so that's been hard, and that transition has been happening, I would say, like the last 3 years, as far as us going like, wait a minute, that's not okay. I don't like that. Yeah. And growing up Mormon, or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, whichever phrase you're comfortable with, you do not do that with your family. Like you stick through with it, like whatever's going on. You're supposed to love this person. You're supposed to forgive, all of those things. And it didn't happen until, like, I met my friend Ashley at church, and we were both in nursery. And I can't remember the exact conversation, but we were discussing, like, family dynamics. And she made a comment basically saying, like, yeah, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to stick with that family if they're not treating you right. It doesn't matter if they're family or not. Like, you can choose. And she said a few other things, and she just, like, said these things, whatever, and then left. And Heston and I looked at each other, and we were like, whoa. To hear someone at church, like, kind of validate everything that we were going through and feeling at the time, and for her to, like, word it for Heston and I to go, oh, it is okay. As, like, a member of the church, it is okay to step back from family if they're not being kind to you. Yeah. And so I just remember being like, whoa, that was so powerful for Heston and I. And that's kind of when things really started. We felt good about what we were doing. We felt like solid about it. So low of like kind of having stricter boundaries with some family members, and some family members I haven't even spoken to in 3 years at this point. And it was hard. It was a really, really hard shift to make. But the high from doing that, Heston feels so much better about himself. Yeah. He feels better about his role as a husband and a provider. And he's doing different things, like, in his career than anyone in his family has done. I'm not saying it's better or anything, but, like, it's different. That can be uncomfortable for some people. I don't think that he would have been able to step out of his comfort zone had he had some siblings in the background just existing,
talking him down and saying,
so that the growth that him and I have had as a couple, and him as a man and an individual, has been unmatched. I feel like within this last year of us really kind of like standing up for ourselves and holding our ground has been huge. So that's the high and the low, kind of walking away, and also allowing Heston to have the time to kind of heal, process some things. I feel like he's like really turning into his full potential, which has been really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
And so now that he's at that point, we have started kind of reconnecting with some siblings that we've never had an issue with, but by like association, it's hard to be around them sometimes because it's hard to say like all of these nasty things that someone's done to you. And I'm looking at like some of his siblings going, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Instead of going like, yeah, you know what? You're right. That shouldn't happen. Not in my family.
Yeah.
And it's not anyone's job to like step in and take control and handle this person or this situation. That's not what I'm saying. But it is hurtful when you're sharing like what someone has done to you. And basically people are looking at you like,
yeah,
there's nothing I can do about it. They're still invited. They're still going to participate.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a tricky thing, I think, spot to be in. It's like, how do you like balance that without like almost like enabling it and letting it go on? But yeah, that's tricky. I will say from an outsider on, I will say that I've seen that too, like in y'all and Heston, just like the change over this like last year. Mainly, I feel like the last year.
Yeah.
I know you said like earlier started, but I feel like this last year or so with y'all and with him, it's been really cool to see like the different things that he's been doing. And like you said, stepping out of that comfort zone and just trying new things. And like, you think about this and business and being almost like taking control of his situations and what he wants to do for him that makes him happy and experience new things, try new things, you know. And from what I know, it's going great and it's fun to see. It's cool. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
To be able to like be a part of and see like what's to come from that. I think I'm kind of the same way when I think like on the highs and lows, like my high and low kind of like go together hand in hand. I think like this past year, like the low for me was just kind of like transitioning out of what I was doing forever and trying something new. Not that that's like a bad thing, but it was really hard for me to like do and get used to. I'm not really good on just like jumping into something with an unknown. I've always been the one to be like, okay, I'll do this, but I need to set this up first because I don't want to take a jump and it fail and then I'm screwed. And then I just think about like financials and income and family. Like I just taking that jump was like to me was kind of scary.
Yeah.
And obviously like I was so secure in what I was doing. So it was kind of scary to like get rid of that security and just be like, here I go. So that transition was very hard for me and it still is, if I'm being honest, of like feeling like I'm not doing enough and kind of figuring out what I can do and what to do with it all. But with that, I think it's been really cool to experience that. And for me, really just like letting go of the control and relying on the Lord to be like, okay, I hope this is what you had planned for me and I hope this is what I can do, but like trusting that one way or the other, it'll be figured out and you'll get me to where I need to be, has been a good growth for me, to be able to grow in that and take those chances and have fun with it and not be so scared of what's to come. But just like being in the moment, enjoying what I'm doing and trying these things that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind. And having a husband who like had let me do that because I mean it comes down to both of us doing that of the income of like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah, you guys are a team.
Yeah,
you need his support.
And having that and him never being like a discouraging, being like, oh yeah, you got this, awesome, cool, like what are you doing this or what about this or you know. So it's been really fun for me to do that and have somebody, you know, supporting that, that I can try this and get it going. Because obviously like starting a business, it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm making, you know, so it's kind of scary. And it was like we took over a gym gymnastics
gym.
So, but I think it's been fun and it's been rewarding. And I really like what I'm doing. Like it's just been so fun and I can't complain about it all. But I do have my moments of like, where I'm like, what am I doing? So they kind of go hand in hand, the highs and lows, kind of like you said, but it was a really good year.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so many new things. I think about, I was telling Ryan this, it was right after the new year. We had went out and kind of had a little like date night and had some dinner and some drinks and we were coming home. And I was like, okay, so what were your like, you know, what were you about like past years and like what you're looking forward to and all these things. And so we kind of just went over it. And I was telling him, obviously, like doing the boutique and starting these new things and transitioning to that and like the podcast. And I was like, it literally blows my mind that in September, me and you just were like, hey, you want to go see the studio? Because this was something new that you guys were starting. I was like, oh my God, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And we sit down and we're sitting across from each other, how it was set up. And you're like, hey, like, we're going to just do this. And I was like, okay. In my head, I'm like, heck yeah. But I'm like, okay, like, whatever.
Yeah, it's not actually going to happen.
Like, you don't really want to. Like, you're just saying, And then we kind of talked about it more. And then I was like, I'm serious if you're serious. Like, don't joke with me because, like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then that was mid-September. I was down 2 months later, and we were in a professional studio, like, awesome studio, doing 8 episodes that we just cranked out.
Yeah.
And then within another, 3 weeks, you had the first episode edited out. And you've been cranking them out every week since. Sick, not sick, like everything. Like,
so some have been a little bit yourself,
late, but like it doesn't. But you're doing it. Like you are literally doing it all.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm not doing it all.
Okay. Within yes.
Well, I feel like that's like the least that I can do because you're the one, like, you're paying for flying here.
Okay, but
you're taking time away from, like, do you know what I mean?
Okay, no. I'm taking time away from things that, I can do. A lot of my stuff I can do on the go.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't have the kids.
Okay.
I get on a plane that we all know I like doing that and flying and going and doing. True. So that's fine. That's just like, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And I get to come see y'all more. So I don't really think I'm sacrificing anything.
Yeah. Well, even if we only have like 80 people that listen every
selfishly,
every
I'm
week,
like, I will keep
it doesn't
doing
matter.
this.
Yeah, like that's how I feel. It's a good excuse to get you down here every 6 to 8 weeks or so.
And so I was like, and then you had them done, and we're going. Like, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I just think that's so cool that like, we had this thought. I've always thought it would be cool to do. You brought it up, and I'm like, okay. And then I get to do it with you. Yeah. Like my best friend since I was 7, 8, whatever. Old.
Yeah.
And within like 2 months, like we were up and going and we're doing the dang thing.
I thought it was cool how fast we did get things like moving because I had it in my head like, okay, well, we can wait until like the new year and get through this
Which might have been a little bit easier.
I mean, but we wouldn't be this much farther in at this point. So I just think it's cool, like you said, that it was weeks later and you were like, okay, well, I'm looking at flights and I'm like great, this weekend will work, let's get it done.
And that you were so willing to, Heston was so willing to like let me fly back so quick, help with Roan, help with the kids, your parents, like that they're like, oh yeah, sure, do it. Yeah. And so I told them, I was like, it blows my mind that like we had this dream, we wanted to do it, we thought it would be fun, even if it's just like a fun hobby for us to do and experience. Yeah. That almost like God was like, I got you, like let's do it, have fun. Like I don't know, it just was so cool to me. And I'm like, how fun for me to end my year of like starting this and being able to go into the new year and be like here recording again another bunch of stuff and just start off the new year and just like see where it goes.
That was definitely, I will say, that was a huge high of last year.
Just like the way to wrap up the year.
Yeah, just a cool way of like getting things going because who knows where this could potentially take us. It may just be this. Yeah. And this would be fantastic.
Yes. They come every 2 months to see y'all and we just
get to do this.
Conversations that we would have had at home.
Yeah. And what's so funny is like the last time and this time too, like we're driving we sat down right here and I'm like, this is all you. I'm just going to follow your lead. And you're like, what?
She said, okay, you got this. I said, ma'am? She was like, she's been sick, but I'm going to call you out. She's been sick. And she was like, honestly, didn't really look over the notes you sent me. You sent me, then they were overwhelming. I was like, they weren't.
You said it was a lot of words.
And I said, they weren't any more words than the like 8 episodes of outlines you sent me last time. She's like, you're right. But so I was like, okay. And I looked at her and I said, well, my goal was to not talk really more because I need to chill out because I'm a talker and I like to.
We're both talkers.
So I was like, and she's like, well, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do what I can. I feel like it hasn't been that way, but I just thought it was so funny. But I'm excited to start the new year with you doing this, and like you said, I have hopes that like we can do this more and it can grow. But again, at the end of the day, I don't care because this is so fun for me to do. It's something new for us. It's time that we can come in. We can do this together. I get to come out every 2-ish months. And we can have these conversations that we would have had, and also almost a little bit more intentional with things because there's things that I can save up. Yeah. That I'm like, oh, I got to, we can talk about this, or I can ask her about this. And some of the times I talk to you about it before and then we talk about it on here. But sometimes it's like, oh, I can wait and just get a reaction on here, and it would just be fun to have. So I think it's just a cool thing to experience. I think I'm super excited for this year to just like keep thinking of episodes and just keep talking.
Keep things moving and rolling.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, selfishly, I want to do it for like just to be able to do it. Yeah. And so I will say though, I did have a couple of people, I had to tell you this, comments that said, they're like, so what is this? Nobody knew about this. Yeah. Because I didn't tell anybody because I didn't even have time before we were doing it. I met up with Allie and Emily, which they're friends from middle school. College roommates, wedding, like everything. Yeah. Like, so they've been there for a long time too. I will probably have them on at one point. Yeah, they absolutely. Really want to. Yeah. Good. They would be amazing to have on. Allie's sister-in-law, Jessica, had a little like Christmas thing with us where we made like beanies and hung out. And we sat down and they were talking about it. And they're like, who just does that? And like, you didn't even tell us. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, it happened so quick, and I didn't want to say anything before. Like, I kind of knew what was going on, and then by the time we did the episodes, and then it was just like, well, you guys will see. Yeah. And Allie goes, you didn't even tell me. Jordan came up to me and goes, hey, so Chandler's doing a podcast? And I went, what? And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody. I told Mom and Caitlin. I didn't tell anyone
either, yeah.
Because I was like, I wasn't sure about if we were going to actually do it. And then when I came down here, I was so just like, let's do it. And she started laughing. She goes, you always do that. Like, you just, like, keep things to yourself. And she's like, you just, like, humble little things. Like, oh, by the way. And I'm like, well, because I don't know. I mean, I guess I could text you, but sometimes I don't, if I don't know where I think it's going to go, I sometimes wait, and then it's like, oh, okay, by the way.
Yeah, like, you want it to be real before you actually say something.
I almost don't want to, like, jinx things I'm doing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't know.
And be like, really hype it up, and then be like, just kidding. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, but it's funny because like it's not like they're not friends I don't tell things to, but it was just so funny. And so I had a lot of people, that's usually comments that I get, I'll see them and they're like, this podcast, or see them, so this podcast you're doing, like, I've gotten that all the time. But I had multiple people when they brought it up, they're like, it looks fantastic. Good, yeah. Where are you doing it? And I was like, oh, we're in a legit studio. And they go, how? Yeah. And so Ryan's head coach, Emilio, he coaches the boys team as our gymnastics center. And
that they own.
Yeah, that we own. That he was like, where are you guys doing this? Because I guess Ryan had showed him and whatever. I was like, oh, that's why I went to Arizona. He goes, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I told him about Heston, the studio. He goes, oh, so you're like in a legit podcast studio. I go, yes, it looked, and you guys sounded phenomenal. It was great. Yeah. He goes, but I was so confused because I was like,
where's this coming from?
How do you do this? Because usually people start out, and he goes, they'll just like a little microphone, like in their living room with their Yeah. And he goes, nothing wrong with that. But he goes, you guys just went in and you're doing it. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, that's one reason we are. Thankfully, we have the opportunity to use the studio. And so I was like, that was one of the pushes. And he was like, well, it looks great. And then I had another guy that works at the gym. He goes, where are you doing this? It looks amazing. So shout out, because we got all the studio. That's what a lot of people said. They're like, it looks good. It sounds good. You guys look great. And so I was like, I'll take that. Mm-hmm. So I will take the lion. I don't know if you can even see my lion, but it's staying. It's
very
there
majestic
to stay.
Lion in the background.
I don't even know if you can see it.
No, you can totally see it.
Oh, well, it's there to stay because I think it's great.
Yeah, and I'm
you gotta
going strong with the gong.
We could probably change that.
I don't know why that's there.
We can't. It's great. I like it.
I like it. I think it looks good with the light on it.
I don't even know what was on it.
Because you had a different picture, and then you were like, I really like the lion.
I need the lion. I'm digging the lion.
I
think it's there to stay.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Get your spirit animal back there. We can switch it up. I like it, but it was just funny. It was like, what's just random behind me?
Yeah.
Because you can switch it up.
Well, what's funny is like when Heston showed me the picture of the tiger, and I'm like, why did you buy that?
And then I was like, I want it. Like 2 different reactions. Hang it up right behind me.
Him and like his friend that he's doing this with, Tyler, was like, look how cool this tiger is. And I'm like, that's great.
You're like, so cool. And then I walk in, put it up.
It was so funny. But
I was just like, I didn't really want that in it.
No, I don't care. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. You know, we're both like so easygoing with with whatever. But yeah, I didn't tell. I think only my parents knew about this. I don't even know if I told my brothers. And then my friend Brooklyn was like, we were coming to the studio, or no, what were we doing? There was a Christmas parade in Tempe down there on the street. And when she sent me the address and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, that's right outside the studio. We could totally like either watch it from the balcony on the studio or like come up here and have like dinner or whatever, because it was going to be busy down there. And so we were like rock climbing earlier that day. And I said, yeah, the parade area, it's like literally the studio, and it's a street outside of the studio. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, cool. Like, I haven't been to the studio. I felt terrible. And we had already, like, I had already been here once with the kids, once with you to look at it. And we had already shot our 8 episodes. And she's like, have you ever been? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I recorded a podcast.
I said, did I not tell you this? And she's like, tell me what? And I said, oh, me and my friend Chandler, we recorded 8 hours there. And I don't think we had launched yet. I think it was... It must have been like that week or so. I feel like it was coming soon.
Your first episode drops tomorrow.
Pretty much. Like everything was done. We had 8
I feel better that I did it.
Oh, yeah. And I felt bad that I didn't say anything, because it's like, this is her husband's thing and stuff.
Well, I almost didn't even realize I did it until and I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, but it was so quick. Like, I didn't even...
Plus, I wanted it to, like what you were saying, I wanted it to be, like, legit and going. I didn't want to say, like, oh, we're thinking about starting a podcast.
Yeah, like, psych.
Yeah, and Heston told me, he was like, 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10.
What does that mean? Like, they just stop?
They just stop recording. Oh. Or I don't know if people are, like, hoping for, like, sponsors right off the bat, or, like, to have some kind of financial gain from this.
I feel like that, from what I hear, that's not common.
I don't think so. I think unless
maybe you're
already famous and someone says to you, like, hey, we can give you this much of a sponsor. You know, that's not our intention. Of course, if that happens, that'd be awesome. But, like, we're not in it for anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people initially start podcasts with, like, that hope of potentially making an income from it.
I didn't know that.
So after, like, episode 10, 90% of podcasts, like, are done. And then even more fail at, like, episode 15.
So we're going to beat the
statistic by 1 until next time.
Well, at least. We're recording quite a bit more, so we're going to beat the statistics by the end of this weekend.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Gold. So then we'll be done.
Yeah, Heston just, like, dropped that number a couple weeks ago to me, and I'm like, are you serious? I've never heard that. And he goes, I say it all the time. Oh, yeah. And I said, well, not to me. But that's true. Also, I don't listen, so there's that.
No, I'm sorry. That's fine.
But, yeah, I mean, definitely a high last year going into this year. Mm-hmm. As far as goals, like, how do you feel about personal goals?
Oh, personal goals. I want to, I mean, I could go, like, real deep here. But overall, I think I want to be better about taking time to get in the Word every day if I can. Mm-hmm. I just know, and I have seen that it does everything. I mean, it's everything. So I need to do that. I want to be better about taking time to do stuff like that for myself. Like that, working out, things like that, just because I know what they do for me, and I just need to be more consistent about it and just take the intentional time to do it.
Yeah.
I think it makes me happier. I think to be overall a better person, a better wife, more patient, not as stressed. I just get so overwhelmed with things easily because I want things to be good.
Yeah.
I want to do good, so I put so much like pressure on myself if I feel like I'm not doing enough. So I kind of want to just relax and know that I'm where I need to be. The Lord will use that in whatever way He needs to. That I need to let that pressure go, because it's not fun. But
it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve the purpose.
Into everything else.
Yeah.
So just to be a little bit more mindful on just letting things go that probably don't matter. Patience and stuff like that. Yeah, I want to be a better wife. I want to be able to learn and grow my businesses. Business, and then I help Ryan. He's the real brains behind all that, and potential of like that little gym, like helping with that. So I just want to just grow in that, just leave more to God and let Him actually let Him do His work, and not just be like, okay, you got this, and then not just actually let it go.
Yeah.
For that personal, for me, growth of this year. What about you?
Same.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just want to continue on the trajectory that I'm on.
Yeah, I feel the
with
same.
my family, with my kids. I'm not a huge sit down. Some people really like to write the goals and all of that. I think there's power in writing things down.
Yeah.
But I also think that you need to be realistic and set yourself up for success. And so I think it's just the little things every day that you can do, just small things. It's called the compound effect. It takes more and more every single time. You can either start from here and do little things every single day and ladder yourself up to success. And so I think people at the beginning of the year have this whole thing, I'm going to lose this much weight, I'm going to do this, which is great and all, but are you setting yourself up for a loss right away? So I used to be big goal setter. Yeah. Write the 3 things down, all the stuff, and then I just kind of realized I'm so happy with where I'm at and who I am as a person. So how can I build on that? What are the little things that I can do every single day? And for Christmas, your mom had asked me what I wanted, and I had said I just want some Bible study, some scripture study tools. Yeah. Because Heston and I grew up Mormon, and we're still Mormon. We just are doing it our own way. And whatever, I don't care what anyone thinks about that, because it's not their business. Yeah. And I'm a good person. I'm raising good kids, so I'm navigating the Mormon church and the culture, how it works for me. So growing up Mormon, you are told you spend 3 hours. It's 2 hours now, thank God, but it used to be 3 hours. So it's 3 hours every Sunday, plus multiple activities a week. So your entire life is immersed in this church, in this culture. So you're constantly hearing things from the scriptures. So you, by default, you're studying those things. But when you step away from it, it's hard to keep that spirituality for yourself and learn how to study things on your own, taking from other kind of sources as far as Bible study. So that's what I want to work on this year, because we all have always had these guides and stuff, which are great. There's nothing wrong with them, but it's also okay to kind of negate from those and try different things and add different things into your life. So that's been hard for me to learn. Yeah. How to navigate outside of the church. Yeah. Spirituality. I think there's a lot of people who leave the church and they go from being so immersed in God and Jesus Christ and all of these beautiful things, then you step away from it and it's hard to bring that spirituality back. Yeah. Because I think it's PTSD response that you're going back into the church.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have left recently, which is okay. Mm-hmm. But I also feel bad for those people who have left because I think it's hard to learn how to still feel spiritual, mm-hmm. how to still keep that connection with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ without it being this kind of certain way.
Like a relationship over the religion.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that that's tricky for people who have left the church.
Yeah.
Because you are trying to find something to fill that spiritual void. Mm-hmm. I remember I had one friend, she left the church and she was posting all of this stuff that she was like into crystal healing mm-hmm. and all of these different healing modalities, which I think they're all beneficial in their own way. But I was also getting the feeling, looking at her posts, like, you're just missing it. You're so close. You're replacing. You're trying to replace
Fill that void.
So people are trying so hard to get away from the religion, and it's hard to like bridge that gap, I think. So that's kind of what I'm learning right now, and that's what I want to do more with my kids. Mm-hmm. Outside of church, because we go to the Mormon church, we go to a couple of other churches, we go to different church activities. Like we like to do it all, and I've always grown up like going to different churches. My dad's always listened to other like pastors and preachers, so for me, I've always had that window of like other churches, other religions, other ways of being close to Christ and being close to God. His family was like, you are going on a mission mm-hmm. or get the hell out of my house was like one thing, that a story that I had heard from someone. Yeah. Whatever, that's their deal. I didn't grow up that way with my family, so I feel like I have a more healthy outlook of the church than some people who have grown up in it and have been forced to participate in certain things as far as like, if you don't go on a mission, you're not getting a car or you're out of this like financially, you know. One guy that I was talking to, he was like, God sent me to a completely different country that I could, because if I could have gotten in my car and driven home, I would have. Yeah. But he didn't have a way to get home. That's what he's like. I didn't have a way to get home, so I just stayed. Mm-hmm. You know, so I don't want to be like that with my spirituality and my religion. I don't want my kids to be like that. So that's something that I'm shifting and trying to bring into my everyday life. Without the religion side of it, just mm-hmm. more the spirituality, the connection, and all of that stuff. Yeah. So that's
I think a lot of people could probably relate to that, and not just like Mormon. Like I think a lot of religions are like Catholic, getting out of like
high demand
religions.
If
they leave the church and they mm-hmm. try, it's like they go to the other, not the other extreme, but they go out and they just like completely out. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people, it is hard to like you said, like I said, the religion over the like relationship mm-hmm. and finding that the relationship or like all the rules, and you get so caught up in the rules. It's like just have that relationship with the Lord and that, mm-hmm. you know. So I do think that would be a hard thing to navigate, but I think that's awesome. Yeah, taking those little steps mm-hmm. and doing those things for you, like you said, for you and like the family and what like works for you guys. But that's awesome. I'm the same way. I'm like, anything I can do to try to grow that mm-hmm. to help me, and like the little steps. I like that you said that too, because it's like you said, like, oh, I want to accomplish this, but it's like, okay, what can I do today to accomplish that? Mm-hmm. Like, do I need to, let's drink a little bit more water, or let's, you know, have a couple, like a little bit more steps, or mm-hmm. like I want to grow my business. Maybe today I focus on this. Like, so it's not just like all, like you said, like this huge goal that it's like you're so focused on the big goal, you're not mm-hmm. doing the things to get there, then you fail and you're like, what the heck?
You're focused on this great goal with good intentions, but potentially unrealistic if you're not going to do the little things every single day to ladder yourself up. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Exactly.
That's very true.
Thanks for listening to part 2 of episode 9 and 10 that we decided to split up.
Hope you guys enjoy, and we will be back for episode, I guess, technically 11.
Yeah.
Deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.